Let's look into the agenda for today's session. Today we will be learning about functions. What are functions? How can we define function? And how can we call a function? So all this we will be knowing in this session. So let's move on. So what are functions? So function is basically a set of statements or a piece of code grouped together to perform a specific task, right? So in Python, if you remember, we have numerous built-in statements, built-in functions like len, like apps. So len is basically used in order to get the length of, if you remember, list. We use len function to get the length of the whole list. So the same way we have created a function which will, whenever we are going to execute it, it will give us the result directly. Okay. And now let's move on to defining a function. How can we define a function in Python? So whenever we are defining a function in Python, we have to give def as the keyword, def keyword. Then we have to give the function name, and then we can provide the arguments. Arguments are basically like x, y. So what all values that we are going to use in the function, that we will be providing as an argument. So then we will be providing these statements. So you must always remember that about the indentation that I had told you about. So whenever you create a definition, a function name, then after colon in the next line you have to give a tab, then you have to write these statements. Okay, same way, then last is return. Either you can return a null value or you can return any value from return keyword. Okay, so how to call a function? So basically whenever you have defined a function, then we have to call it. So we'll give the same name that we have given to a function. So we'll provide the function name and we'll provide all the arguments that needs to be given. Always remember, so the function cannot be called before defining. So you have to first define a function, then only you can call that function. So you have to remember this. And let's move on to Jupyter Notebook and create an actual function. Okay, so I have opened my Jupyter Notebook. Let's try a simple example. Let's say x is equal to 3. Now what I want the square of x square 3. Okay, now I want to find the square of 4. So I'll say x 4. So this will give me the square of 4. Now instead of writing it a number of times, what I can do, I can just make it generic. So what I'll do, I'll create a function. I'll say def then I'll create the name as a square, and I'll say x is the argument, which is basically we will be getting it as an input, right? Then colon, then enter. So if you can see, this is the differences of tab. So I'll say y is equal to x to the power square 2, right? X square. What I will be doing, this is my statement, this is my statement. Now I will be returning y. Fine. So I have created a function def square. Then after giving colon, on the next line I'll give the statement. The statement will be y is equal to x to the power 2, and then I'm returning y. So I'll say shift enter. Now what I'll do, I can just say square 2 4 square 3 9 square 10 100 square minus 10 100. So by this way, you do not need to define x each time and you have to get the result. You can just say square and you can get the result. Now let's try another one. This time what we will be doing, we will just get the cube of the statement. We can just get the cube of the x, let's say. So I'll say cube, and I'll say x, and I'll say y is equal to x power 3. Now what I will do, I will just say return and y. Fine. Now what will I do? I'll just say cube and say 3 27 cube 10 1000 cube minus 20 minus 8000. So this is the way by which you can create a function, and you can do whatever you want. If you want to print anything over here, you can just print as well. So instead I say I do not want to return it. So what will I do? I'll just create another function. I'll say def. This time what I will be doing, I will just do addition of x comma y comma z. Okay, and I'll say y is equal to, no, not y, a is equal to, add is equal to x plus y plus z, and I'll say print add. Fine. This time what I will be doing, I won't be running this statement. I'll just create a new shell, and I'll just say addition, and I'll say 10, 20 and 30. Now can you see name addition is not defined? So first you have to define the function first. Okay, so I'll say define. Now as you can see, I have already pressed shift enter. Now this statement got executed. Now when I'll try this, I'll get 60. So if you want to print a directly add over here, you can use addition directly. Otherwise what you can do, you can also provide return. So let's try another one. Define. This time what I will be doing, I'll say add and multiplication. Sum and add and multiplication. Add mul, and we'll say x comma y comma z this time. Now I'll say add is equal to x into y multiplied by z, sorry, x plus y plus z. Then I'll say mul is equal to x multiplied by y multiplied by z, and say print add and print mul. Okay, add mul, you have to provide 10, 20, 30. You'll get 60 and 60 also. Let's give some name to it. Add is add. Addition is. And I'll say product is. Fine. And let's try this. Addition is 60 and product is 6000. Now what I want to do instead, I don't want to print it, I just want to return it. So I'll just copy this up and print it over here. So how can we return multiple statements? So let's try one simple way. Return add comma mul, and if I'll say add mul 10, 20, 30. Oh, case sensitive. 60, 6000. Now what I will do, I'll say a is equal to add is equal to I'll say a string addition is, and I'll say comma str, because the number that add, what is add returning over here, add is returning an integer. So I'll say str add, just copy this and say mul, and multiplication is and I'll say str mul. Let's try this. Addition is 60 and multiplication is 6000. Now we got this result, but I would really like to know what's my type of add mul. It's a function, but what's my type of add mul? This, the result, the output that I'm getting, it's a tuple, right? If you want to get it as a list, you can just say like this, you will get a list, right? So this is the way you can create a function and decrease the number of statements, number of lines if you want to. Now create a last function that is being used mostly. So what we will be doing, we will be creating a factorial, and we are going to do it without recursion. Let's just change it now. Okay, so def factorial x, right, for I in range 0 comma x plus 1, no, not 0, I'll say 1 comma x plus 1, and I'll say over here fact is equal to 1. I'll say fact is equal to fact multiplied by I, right, and what will I do over here? I will return fact. Now factorial 5, 120 factorial 3, 6 factorial 4, 24. Fine. So in this way you can also find the factorial by just defining a function as factorial, and you can provide all the condition and you can return your values. If you do not want to return it, you can also print it. Okay, so try and practice functions. I'll rename this notebook to functions. So let me know if you have any issue. So till then, see you in the next lecture. Goodbye.